Our next speaker is Jack Drescher, MD. Dr. Drescher is past chair from 2000-2006 of the Committee on Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual Issues of the American Psychiatric Association. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jack Drescher.
History. In 1970, Barbara Gittings was part of a group of gay activists who disrupted the American Psychiatric Association convention in San Francisco. She and her colleagues accused my profession of perpetuating social prejudice against gay people in the language of science and medicine. You hear me? In Barbara's words, protesters seized the microphones and denounced psychiatry for hurting instead of helping us. The angry disruptor said, "Stop talking about us and start talking with us." Well, their strategy worked. At APA's next meeting in Washington, D.C., there was a panel called Lifestyles of Non-Patient Homosexuals. In Barbara's words, it was the first time APA acknowledged that there are gay people who aren't in therapy and who have no need for it. The next year, 1972, Barbara and Frank Kameny were invited to another panel, this time at the APA meeting in Dallas. The panel was called Psychiatry, Friend or Foe to Homosexuals, a Dialogue. In addition, 2 psychiatrists were to be on the panel, but Barbara and Kay had the idea of adding a gay psychiatrist, but where to find one? In 1972, an openly gay psychiatrist could lose his or her license to practice medicine. So Kay and Barbara wrote letters and made phone calls to doctors around the country, and they eventually found John Fryer of Philadelphia, who said yes, provided he could wear a wig, a mask, and use a voice-distorting microphone. And this is what an openly gay psychiatrist looked like. Dr. H. Anonymous, he spoke as a closeted gay person to his own colleagues, telling them why he could not be open in his own profession. And this was a very emotional part of the whole APA decision, but Barbara was not just the person who moved toward people's feelings, she also moved toward people's minds. So in the meantime, between 1970 and 73, gay and lesbian activists were also meeting with APA officials and introducing them to scientific findings which they knew little about, like the Kinsey study. There were deliberations and debates within APA's committees on the question of what constituted a psychiatric illness, and in the end, the APA Board of Trustees agreed that the science showing gay people could be psychologically normal was better than the studies that claimed we were mentally ill. And in 73, APA removed homosexuality from its manual of mental disorders. On a personal note, I was 22 that year and found myself unexpectedly cured of my psychiatric illness. And I still had yet to see a psychiatrist. I would see many more later on in my training. But at that time, it felt pretty good. Eventually, international psychiatry followed the American example. And though it took almost 20 years, in 1992, the World Health Organization removed homosexuality from the International Classification of Diseases. APA's 73 decision ended psychiatry's participation in stigmatizing gay people, and it shifted the debates about the meaning of homosexuality into the moral and political realms, which is where it belonged. And it turns out that the activists had been correct. Their actions were eventually deprived both the media, religious, government, military, and educational institutions of their medical and scientific rationalizations for discrimination. So what followed was a gradual increase in social acceptance of gay men and women as people began to realize that if being gay is not an illness, and if one doesn't literally accept the biblical prohibitions against homosexuality, and if secular democracy separates church and state, and if openly gay people are productive citizens, then what's wrong with being gay? We know how much things have changed in 73. In my own profession, the change has been enormous. We have a gay caucus now within the American Psychiatric Association, a committee on gay and lesbian issues, which I was lucky enough to chair. We have a national organization of gay and lesbian psychiatrists whose headquarters is here in Philadelphia. Today, the APA strongly opposes anti-gay discrimination and supports marriage equality. Last fall, APA gave Barbara and Frank Kameny its first John Fryer Award for their significant contributions to LGBT mental health. On another personal note, I ran for a gay president last year as an openly gay psychiatrist, and although I didn't win, being one of two candidates nominated to lead an organization of 35,000 mental health professionals was a milestone for APA and for me. And I was lucky enough to sit and talk with Barbara at the luncheon for the Friar Award last fall in New York.